All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a question so big, it's about where the very concept of big even lives. We're going to explore what our universe is inside of. And the answer? Well, it might just be the most mind-bending thing in all of physics.
So yeah, consider this your official warning. We're about to go on a journey so strange, so counterintuitive that by the end of it, your brain might genuinely try to unionize and demand hazard pay.
So where did it all begin? About 13.8 billion years ago. And you gotta try and picture this. Everything, every star, every galaxy, you, me, the whole shebang was all squished into a single point. A spot of energy so dense it was smaller than a single proton. I mean, just think about that.
To really get your head around these scales, let's talk about atoms. If you could blow up a single atom to the size of a football stadium, right? The nucleus, the part with all the stuff, would be a tiny marble sitting on the 50-yard line. The electrons? They'd be like little specks of dust floating way out in the nosebleed seats.
The rest of that stadium is just empty space, which means that you, the person listening to this right now, are 99.999% nothing. You're basically a walking, talking cloud of pure probability that just so happens to have very strong opinions on pineapple as a pizza topping.
Now this is where we have to fix the biggest misconception in all of science. That tiny, dense point didn't explode into space like a bomb going off in a room. No, the Big Bang was the expansion of space itself. It didn't happen in a room, it was the creation of the room. There was no outside for it to expand into.
And that's why asking, so what came before the Big Bang, is, well, it's kind of a nonsense question. Stephen Hawking put it perfectly. He said, it's like asking, what's south of the South Pole? Once you're standing on the South Pole, the whole concept of south just breaks. The question itself stops making sense.
In those first moments of existence, the timescales are just insane. At 10 to the power of negative 43 seconds, that's called Planck time. Our physics, our math, it just throws its hands up and quits. Then in a flash, a process called inflation blew the universe up faster than the speed of light, going from smaller than an atom to about the size of a grapefruit. It took another 380,000 years for things to cool down enough for light to finally travel freely.
And you know what's wild? That very first flash of light is still out there. It's all around us, a faint glow called the cosmic microwave background. And if you're old enough to remember analog TVs, a small percentage of that fuzzy static you'd see between channels, that was it. You were literally watching the afterglow of creation.
Which, of course, brings us right back to the central, terrifying question. A question that sounds so simple, but just unravels everything. If the universe is still getting bigger, what is it expanding into?
And the honest, beautiful, and kinda scary answer is we just don't know. We can't know. Our entire existence, all of our science, is inside the system. Asking what's outside is like asking a fish to describe the beach. The very idea of an outside is something it can't even comprehend.
But you know, we don't know is not an answer physicists are happy with. So they've come up with some pretty wild ideas. One of the frontrunners is called brain theory. It suggests that our entire 3D universe could just be a thin membrane, a brain, that's floating around in a much larger, higher dimensional space, something they call the bulk.
Okay, to get this, let's use an analogy. Imagine there's a whole civilization of flat, two-dimensional creatures, and they live their entire lives on the surface of a giant sheet of paper.
For them, their 2D paper world is everything. They would have no way to sense, measure, or even conceive of the third dimension, of up or down, or the 3D room that their piece of paper is just sitting in. So, what if that's us? What if we're just the Flatlanders, totally blind to a whole other reality all around us?
And get this. There might actually be evidence for this crazy idea. Think about this. Why is gravitation so ridiculously weak compared to the other forces of nature? I mean, you can overcome the entire gravitational pull of planet Earth with a cheap little fridge magnet. Brain theory might explain why. Maybe gravity is the only force that's able to leak out of our 3D membrane and into those other dimensions.
And if all of that doesn't make you feel completely insignificant, just wait till you see what the universe is actually made of. This is truly humbling.
Just let that number sink in. 5%. That's it. Everything we know, every star, every planet, every black hole, every bit of dust, you, your dog, all of human history and art and science, it adds up to a measly 5% of reality.
The other 95%? we have no clue what it is. We've given it placeholder names like dark matter and dark energy, which basically means we don't know. Dark energy is the big one, and it's the name for whatever is pushing space apart, making the universe expand faster and faster. Our best guess? It might just be a property of empty space itself. The nothing is doing something. So not only do we not know what most of the universe is, we don't even know why any of it is here at all. See, in the very beginning, for every particle of matter, an equal particle of antimatter should have been created. And when they meet, they annihilate each other, leaving nothing but energy. That should have been it. But for some reason, for every billion pairs that wiped each other out, one extra little particle of matter was left over.
And that leftover particle, that 1 in a billion rounding error, that's everything. That's every star, every galaxy. That's you. You exist because of a tiny glitch in the system at the very beginning of time. You are a cosmic statistical anomaly.
And just when you think you've grasped the scale, it gets worse. The part of the universe we can actually see, our little bubble of existence where light has had enough time to reach us, is about 93 billion light-years across. But our best models suggest the actual universe, the whole thing, is at least 250 times bigger than that. Or it could just be infinite.
And if it is truly infinite, well, that's when things get really weird. Because in an infinite space, simple probability says that any event with a non-zero chance of happening will happen. Not just once, but an infinite number of times. Which means, yes, there's another you out there who did become a rock star, and another one who's a lizard person, and everything in between. So, after all that brain-melting cosmic vertigo, let's bring it all the way back home. Let's bring it back to you, because you're not just some random observer in this story. The very carbon atoms that make up your body were literally cooked in the heart of a dying star. The iron in your blood was forged in the unimaginable explosion of a supernova.
And that leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. Are you just a person living in the universe, a collection of stardust looking out? Or are you the universe itself, arranged in such a way that it has become conscious, just so I can look back and ask the very question we started with? What am I inside of?